This is the assembly video for this gentle handling auger. First, open the crate. Then, lay out all of the components so everything is easily seen. What we are going to do first is assemble the carriage or frame of this unit. Let's start by putting the wheels on. A light snugging is all that is needed to hold them in place. When you are finished, it should look like this. The next part of this auger we are going to assemble is the screw. This is done by sliding the second half onto the end that matches the auger spiral. Once this is done, put the included bolt through the pre-drilled hole, mating the two ends together. Then tighten the bolt and nylon lock nut down. Do not over-tighten this bolt, as this can cause damage to the screw. Snug with the nylon donut ran down over the bolt threads is all that is required to hold these components together. With that done, we can now slide the second part of the tube over the screw and line up the drive shaft with the output sleeve of the gearbox. Check the drive shaft for burrs to ensure that it slides together freely and easily into the output sleeve of the gearbox. Never resort to beating these components together, as this will cause binding of the internal components and cause part failure. Ensure that the plastic safety sleeve is slid over the drive shaft to minimize the risk of injury. Do not operate this unit without the included safety shields in place. When sliding the two pieces together, be sure that the points of the orientation arrows meet to eliminate the potential for a slight twist in the tube. If for some reason your unit does not have these orientation arrows, you can look down the drive shaft to see if it has a slight bend in it. It is important to get the drive shaft as straight as possible. The drive shaft, not being straight, will cause binding of the internal components of the gearbox, causing part failure. Now that the tube is assembled, we can now attach the carriage to the tube. Sawhorses can be used to hold the tube up while moving the carriage into place and installing it. The first thing to do when installing the carriage is to slide the sliding wheel brackets onto the tracks located on either side of the tube at the discharge end of the auger. After that, remove the bolt at the opposite end to release the draw cable. Keep the bolt nut because we'll need it in a minute. With the draw cable free, run some slack out of the winch, then put the loop over the hook opposite of the winch. After that, slide the fixed end of the carriage up and between the two ears on the intake end of the auger. Then, reinsert the bolt we removed earlier. Tighten the nylon lock nut down enough that there is no side-to-side play, while still allowing the carriage tongue to move freely in the joint. Now we can attach the infeed auger to the hopper by simply sliding it over the tube. When sliding the hopper into place, leave about a ½ inch of space between the hopper and auger screw. A level can be used to ensure that the hopper is on straight and not slightly askew. After the hopper's position has been set, we can then tighten the bolts to hold everything in place. The next thing to install is the discharge end safety shield. This is held in place by 4 bolts. To minimize the risk of injury, Do not operate this machine without this safety shield in place. The next and last component to install is the motor. Check the shaft for burrs before installing. The motor should always slide easily into the input sleeve of the gearbox. Never beat the motor into place, as this will cause binding of the internal components of the gearbox and cause part failure. Once the motor has been mounted to the gearbox, the face of the motor fitting up with the face of the gearbox, there being no gap between the motor and gearbox, we can install the 4 bolts that join the motor and gearbox. Do not over-tighten these. Before putting power to the unit, run the cable winch up to raise the auger, and inspect the unit, making sure everything is put together properly. After all of that, your auger should look like this. Now, you're ready to go to work. If you have any questions, call or email us. Thank you.